All right, now we're going to inspect our engine compartment. Anytime we're going to be back here working in the engine compartment, we want to make sure we turn off our engine switches. This will disable the ignition at the front to ensure that nobody starts the coach while you're back here, as you are in the blind spot. What we're going to do is turn off both of these switches. The one that says engine run, we're going to turn that to engine off. The one that says front start, we're going to put it to the middle where it says off. Both switches must be in that off position. Now, first things first, we're going to check our oil. As we do this, we want to be checking for a few things. We want to make sure it's not milky. That would indicate that there's coolant mixing with the oil. We want to make sure that it's not bubbly. That would mean that there's a problem with the injectors. We also want to make sure it doesn't smell like diesel fuel. That would mean we have diesel fuel mixing with our oil. We also want to make sure that it's in between the F and the L. This oil is good. Now we're going to start from the top and make our way down. It's good to establish a pattern to ensure that you always do it the same every time to ensure that you don't miss anything. So we're going to go up to the top. Up here we have a coolant sight glass. We want to make sure that we can see coolant in the sight glass and make sure this is the proper color. It will be either red or green. As we make our way down, we're going to be looking at our radiator on this side. And we're going to be looking at our charged air cooler on this side. We want to make sure that they are free from obstruction. We want to be looking for leaks of any kind. There could be coolant leaking from your radiator. We want to make sure that there is no coolant leaking whatsoever. We're going to check our fan blades. We want to make sure that they're in good condition, that they're not chipped or broken. Once again, free from obstruction to make sure that they will be able to move freely. Now we're going to be checking our belts. With all of our belts, we want to make sure that there's no cracking, fraying, or any splits in them. With any that have these teeth, we want to make sure they're not missing any of the teeth as well. We also want to be checking for good tension. Wonderful. As we make our way down now, we're going to continue to check our belts. We want to make sure, once again, good tension, no cracks or bends or splits, no fraying in our belts. Wonderful. As we come across, we want to check our power steering reservoir. This has a sight glass on it. This is our power steering fluid. We want to make sure that we can see it in the sight glass, which we can. We want to be looking for leaks of any kind. Here we have our alternator. Our alternator is belt driven. We want to make sure there's no leaks of any kind coming from it and that's securely fastened. It doesn't look like we have any corrosion around it. As we make our way to the right, we're going to have this, which these belt leads to. This is our AC compressor. It is belt driven. Once again, making sure it's securely fastened, no leaks of any kind. And checking these belts, also checking to make sure they're not missing any teeth. As we make our way across, we have this thing here. This right here is our power steering pump. This is gear driven. Once again, looking for leaks of any kind. That's securely fastened. Looks great. As we come around, always checking our belts. We also have, on this side, behind, where this pump, where this hose leads to, is our water pump. With our water pump, we want to make sure there's no leaks of any kind, no coolant leaking from around it, and also that there's no oil leaks coming from it, as it is gear driven. Looks great. As we make our way over, we have our air filter housing. Make sure it's good. We want to make sure that the wing nut back here is tight. Don't want any excess dirt getting in there. So come around too, we're going to be looking back at our exhaust system, which we'll show you more of later. Want to make sure it's free from any soot, which would indicate an exhaust leak. We're also checking all of our hoses and clamps. These are located all throughout. So once again, I'm going to go through. Want to make sure that they're secure, not leaking, no bulging and cracks, and that our clamps are secure. There's many hoses located throughout the engine compartment. We want to check them all. Very good. As we look down further, we also can see our frame. With our frame, we want to be looking for any bends, any cracks, any welds, and also to make sure our U-bolts are present, which they are. Perfect. All right, now we're gonna move to the other side and check the engine door from the left side. All right, now we're gonna be checking our left service door. In here, we'll be able to find our junction box. Once again, we just wanna make sure that it's covered. Back here as well, you'll find your transmission fluid dipstick. You do not have to check your transmission fluid. What you want to ensure is that the dipstick is secure and present. We're going to be having another look at our exhaust system along with our exhaust bellow. We're going to be making sure that there's no leaks of any kind. On an exhaust system, once again, that would be soot. This gives us another view of our frame, making sure it's not bent. Also, we have our U-bolts, making sure that they're present. We also have our oil filters located back here. Want to make sure that they're not leaking oil. This gives us another view of a lot of hoses and clamps. Once again, we're going to check all of our hoses and clamps to make sure that they're secure and not leaking. All right, this also gives us another view of our air filter housing. Under the coach from here, you'll also be able to see more of the exhaust, this part being the muffler. This is the muffler housing, and it's imperative that you also get under and look at your muffler to make sure that there's no holes of any kind in your muffler. All right, now we'll be inspecting our right service engine door. Back here, we'll have another view of our AC compressor, looking for leaks of any kind. We'll also have our booster post. We want to make sure that this cap is present. Here we have our coolant fill. We want to make sure that this cap is secure and closed. We also have our tag axle air valves. We want to make sure that they are in the on position or the horizontal position. What that means is that there's air going into the air bellows of our tag axle. In the event of a low traction situation, you can turn these off, dropping the air out of your tag axle and putting more weight on your drive tires. This creates more traction. Here we'll have another view of our frame. Once again, looking for any twists or bends, any kind of welding on the frame. We'll also have our U-bolts, making sure that they're present. We have another filter. Want to make sure there's no leaks in our filters. We also have this blue component. This is very important. This is your air compressor. This is gear driven. Looking for leaks of any kind around it. Also listening for leaks, as it could be leaking air. This creates the air that goes into your brakes to allow you to stop. This creates the air that opens and closes your door. This creates the air that runs your windshield wipers. Very important, making sure that there's no leaks of any kind. All right, now that we've inspected the engine compartment, we can then start the coach. We're going to make sure we do is flip our switches back up to the on position. We're going to leave these doors open. As we do our exterior inspection, we'll be looking to make sure that the engine is running properly, that there's no new leaks of any kind, there's no electrical arcing on our alternator, and that it doesn't sound funny.